Hello, TheLadyKeziah here. Should your children marry spouses who behave like you and be treated like you are treating your partner? Would your marriages bring you joy or sorrow? Yeah, I address the difficult yet necessary conversations we are supposed to have. So I really understand that this is perhaps the most sobering mirror any parent or spouse can look into. It strips away the advice we give and forces us to confront the reality of who and what we are. When we envision our children's future, we usually imagine them happy, respected, being loved, and secure. Yet we often forget that we are currently drafting the user manual they would use to build that life. So this video, join me to explore this powerful reflection. Let's therefore consider the following. Number 1, the genetic code of relationship, or a legacy of joy or sorrow. There is a profound irony in parenting, and that is we spend decades protecting our children from external threats, yet we often unconsciously hand them the tools for their own heartbreaks. If our children were to marry spouses who mirror our own character, and if they were to be treated exactly as we are currently treating our partners, how would the results of that marriage be? Would it really be a truest legacy they would be proud of? Whether that legacy brings us joy as parents or sorrow depends entirely on the relational atmosphere we are creating today, because the children are watching. Number 2, mirror of character. Would I want my child to marry me? Of course I will. I would want my son to marry a woman like me. Yes, because I've given love. So number 2 question is, would you want your child to marry you? You are not supposed to answer me. This is a hypothetical question. But say through yourself, would you want your daughter, your son, to marry someone like you? To ask if we would want our child to marry someone like us is to audit our own maturity. If you are a spouse who is dismissive, overly critical, or emotionally distant, you are essentially teaching your child that these are acceptable traits in a partner. Sometimes when people talk about dysfunctionality and do nothing, just pray, be there, and I tell them, listen, your children are watching. If you're in a dysfunctional marriage and you do nothing about it, you are teaching your children to embrace dysfunctionality as a normal way of life. So they would end up with spouses of what or who you don't want them to have. Would this be acceptable traits in the partners your children should have? If your daughter marries a man who mimics your short temper, your responsibility, your unaccountability, your emotionally distant, your unavailability, or your son marries a woman who mimics your passive aggression, your emotionally detached, the microaggression, your heart will break for them. Will your heart break for them, or you be so much full of joy for that marriage of your child? We often want better for our children than what we give to our spouses. But we forget that children rarely rise above the standard they consistently observe. They form paradigms based on what they see happening in the home. until they grow and they are mature enough, marinate into a gentle adult that will be able to interrogate their beliefs. Exactly, this is the way they are going to marry their spouses. If your character in marriage is defined by service, patience, and integrity, the thought of your child finding a similar spouse would be a source of immense joy, right? If it is defined by control or neglect, it is a blueprint for their future. So, number 3, the mirror of treatment. Is this the life you want for your children? Is this the life you would want for your children? The second half of the equation is even more piercing. Should your children be treated like you are treating your partner? Would it bring you joy or sorrow? We often justify our poor behavior towards our spouses, citing stress, long years of marriage, or they started it. However, a child does not need to see the justification. They only see the dynamic. Should I repeat? Your children don't see the justification. They see the dynamic, the constructive lesson. If you treat your spouse with visible honor, even in disagreement, you are telling your child, hey, you deserve to be honored. That is the constructive lesson. On the other hand, the destructive lesson, if you treat your spouse as an inconvenience, a servant, or a punching bag for your frustrations, you are telling your child or your children, this is what love looks like. If you receive and receive and receive without giving anything back in return, your children will even have to beg you for their basic need. Their basic needs. They see marriage, relationship, love in that same context. If your child or children end up in a marriage where they are ignored, belittled, or unappreciated, just as you may be doing to your spouse, would you not call that unsuccessful? Or will you call that a successful life? If your children are supposed to experience the same thing you are dishing out to your spouse today, would you call their union successful or unsuccessful marriage? Will you see it as a tragedy, a burden, or a blessing? Number 4, the source of future joy. The joy of a parent comes from seeing their children flourish. A child flourishes in marriage when they have a high relational IQ, learned at the dinner table and the quiet moment of their childhood home. Trace people with all the things they are doing in their relationships today, and you'll be able to trace them back to their childhood. The same thing they witness is what they are dishing out to their spouses. When we model a marriage of mutual obsession, where two people are obsessed with making the other person's life better, we give our children a high standard. In what ways are you making life comfortable and better for your spouse? You are teaching your children to recognize home when they find someone who treats them with the same kindness or the same dysfunctionality we modeled. Number 5, the living prophecy. Yes. Our current marriages are the future prophecy for our children. We cannot expect them to demand respect they never saw us give. Nor can we expect them to offer a kindness they never saw us practice. For all your married life, your children have never seen you expressing a birthday, a married anniversary, a Christmas, a Easter, nothing, no gifts. Not even to your spouse, nothing. If the thought of your children's future, their future marriage if the thought of your children's marriage being a carbon copy of your current one brings you a sense of dread, if the thought of your children's future marriage being a carbon copy of what you are dishing out to your partner today brings you a sense of dread, then today is the day to change that template. Yes, the greatest gift you can give your children is not just a trust fund or an education. It is a healthy, vibrant, and respectful marriage to their own parent. Yeah. Only then can you look at their future and expect joy instead of sorrow. So in conclusion, I don't want this to be a long video. This is a personal audit that I'm giving to you free of charge. You may decide to use it if it resonates with you, or ignore it if it doesn't. If you want to dive deeper, try answering these 3 questions honestly. I've said countless times in my videos that you can deceive the whole world. You can never deceive your own soul. You know your situation in your home. You can put up a public facade of a successful life, but you can't fool your own soul. So this is a personal audit for you. If my son treats his future wife the way I am treating mine, will she feel like a queen or a servant? If my son treats his future wife the way I am treating mine as a man, as a husband, would your daughter-in-law, who is your son's wife, feel like a queen or a servant? Number 2, if my daughter accepts the same level of affection I give my spouse, will her heart be full or empty? Number 3, am I currently modeling the minimum acceptable behavior or the gold standard? Am I currently modeling the minimum acceptable behavior or the gold standard? You know, you don't treat your partner well, and yet it is normal to you. Should your son or your daughter have a spouse like that, will it bring you joy or sorrow? Would you consider that marriage a blessing or a burden? TheLadyKeziah is my name. I'm a licensed psychosocial counselor and a transformative mindset coach. I address the difficult yet necessary conversations we are supposed to have. Think about these things. In the comment section, let me know what resonates with you. If you want my services, visit my profile, my link is there, and book a session with me. We can become more, do more, and give more. Think about these things. Much love and blessings.